Hi, today we're going to do another variant Sudoku that was recently featured on Cracking the Cryptic. I am excited to be back to doing commentary with my Sudoku solves after a recent illness where I lost my voice. It's not completely back, but we should be able to do this Sudoku just fine. I did take a minute to look at the rules of this Sudoku before I started the recording. What we have here is we have to draw a loop through the whole grid that passes through every cell that is not a 9. So that is out of the 81 cells in the grid. It has to pass through 72 cells. And we have region sum rules that are a little bit different from normal. So the loop has to pass through every box at least 2 times. And that creates 2 or more segments within that box. And those 2 or more segments have the same sum, but there's no constraint from one box to the next. And finally, no 2 adjacent cells directly connected by a loop may sum to 9. Now, that's a lot of constraints. Something that just now occurs to me is it's a little bit tricky to draw a loop that passes through every single box at least twice. It's going to have some weird geometrical restrictions that are not obvious to me. But another thought is, what are the possible sums that these box local sums can be? So every single box, of course, adds up to 45. The loop does not touch the 9, so the 8 cells that are on the loop add up to 36. And since, however, those 8 cells are divided between the segments, each segment has the same sum, that sum has to be a divisor of 36. Specifically, it's 36 divided by the number of segments that are in the box. So what are the divisors of 36? Well, it turns out that the small divisors are not possible. And the reason why I think that is because if you have an 8, every box has an 8 in it, and it must lie in the loop somewhere. Now, it can't lie on the loop by itself. Is there a loop drawing tool here? Let me enable that. Center only? Yes, okay. So the loop drawing tool will show us that, if you have a loop that passes through an 8 and only an 8 within the box, then the region sum within this box is 8, and 8 is not a divisor of 36, so that's impossible. Instead, the loop segment that the 8 is on must have at least 2 digits. Now we know that 2 adjacent cells directly connected by the loop may not sum to 9, so it's not 8, 1, it must be at least 8, 2. And so the segment has to sum to at least 10. And it has to be a divisor of 36. And the divisors of 36 that are 10 or more are 12, 18, and 36. And it's not 36, because 36 would mean you have a single loop segment for the whole box, excluding the 9. Therefore, each loop segment adds up to either 12 or 18, depending on whether 3 or 2 times the loop passes through the box. And the geometrical difficulty of getting the loop to pass through every box at least twice is going to constrain that. I suspect it mostly has to be 2 times through most boxes, and then 1 or 2 boxes it'll pass through 3 times, but it's not obvious to me how that'll be found out. And what else can we say? Well, maybe it'd be useful to figure all the ways we can add up to 12 or 18. So 12. The 8 has to be on some segment. The 7 can't be on the same segment as the 8 because that adds to 15. That's above 12. And similarly, the 6 can't be on the same segment as the other 3. So you have 3 segments in the box. One has an 8, one has a 7, one has a 6. And then the digits 1 through 5 have to be distributed in such a way that they add up to 4, 5, and 6. So one way you could do that is like 3, 2, 1 goes in the same segment as the 6, and then the 5 and the 4 go on the segments with the 7 and the 8. You could swap the 5 and 2, 3. So let's see, if you have the 1 and the 5 with the 6, then the rest is determined. Similarly, if you have the 2, 3 with the 6, then the rest is determined. So let's suppose this is not 1, 2, 3 and not 1, 5, then it must be 2, 4. And then this has to add up to 4, and the only way to do that is 1, 3, and then this has to have a 5. So there's 3 different ways that you can partition the digits 1 through 8 to make 3 different segments that add up to 12. 7 goes with either 5 or 2, 3. 8 goes with 1, 3, or 4. And I said there's 3 ways. 6 goes with 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, or 1, 5. Okay. And then I suspect most boxes are going to add up to 18. What are the ways we can do that? Well, can 8 and 7 be on the same one? It could be 8, 7, 3, along with 6, 5, 4, 2, 1. That's 7, 12, 18. Yes, that works. You can also, of course, switch the 3 with the 2, 1. So there's 2 ways, or 8 and 7 are the same segment. If 8 and 7 are not on the same segment, then I need now something that adds up to 10 and something that adds up to 11 using the digits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which indeed adds up to 21. So adding up to 10, you could do 6, 4, you could do 5, 2, 3, you could do 6, 3, 1. Let's see, if 6 goes with either 4 or 3, 1. 5 has to go with 2, 3, or 5, 4, 1. And then you could do 1, 2, 3, 4. And that leaves 5 more ways. So that's a total of 7 ways that you can partition the box into 2 segments that add up to 18 each. And because 5 with 8 and 7 not on the same segment, and 2 with 8 and 7 on the same segment. And 3 ways to do it adding up to 12. I don't feel like from there we have gotten an entry point into the puzzle, however. Maybe it would have behooved me to pay attention to where 2 was on these various partitioning plans, because we have a lot of 2's in the grid. Maybe the 2's purpose is to constrain the 7's. Let's look at the ways to add up to 12 again. So again, we said 8, 7, and 6 all have to be on different segments. And we found 3 different ways that that could work. 8 with 4, 8 with 3, 1, 7 with 5, 7 with this, 2, okay. So 8 with 4, 7 with 5, 6 with 1, 2, 3, 8 with 1, 3, 7 with 5, 6 with 2, 4, 8 with 4, 7 with 2, 3, and 6 with 1, 5. Now, are any of these made challenging by the rule of adjacent cells not adding up to 9. Whenever there's a 3, except for if it's with the 6, the 1, and the 2. So if there's a 3 is with a 1, 8, or the 3 is with a 2, 7, the 3 must be in the middle of the 3 cells in that segment. Okay. And if the 3 is with 6, 1, 2, then the 3 does not touch the 6. And the 4 is never with the 5. So that does indeed restrict things a little bit. Now if we look again at the various ways we had of making, and it's either 3 or 1, 2. So now we're trying to add up to 18 again. 6, 5, 4, and then 3 or 1, 2. You don't want the 3 to touch the 6. You don't want these 2 to touch. So I guess 8, 7, 1, 2 is a little constrained because 8 can't touch the 1 and the 7 can't touch the 2. But not terribly constrained. There's still plenty of ways to make these segments work. And then of course with 8, not on the same path as the 7, we had a multitude of ways of making this add up. 5, 2, 3, 5. And those were all the ways. 8 can't touch 1, which matters a few of these. 3 can't touch 6, but it's also very unconstrained that I don't see any difficulty satisfying the rule just in the abstract. So I don't see this rule of adjacent cells not adding up to 9 giving us a huge amount of early progress. The loop must visit every cell except for the 9 cells containing a 9. Well, that does tell us that 9s can't go here. Okay, if there's 2 segments in the box, how long can the segments be? We saw 8, 7 with 3 or 2, 1. So that's a segment of length 3 together with a segment of length 5, 6, 5, 4, 2, 1. Or 2 segments of length 4. So your segment lengths can be 5, 3, 4, 4. And with this, there are all of the different ways we had of adding up to 18. That's a segment of length 5, 4, 3. So again, 5, 3 or 4, 4. You can't. Obviously, you can't have a segment of length 2 and add up to 18. And then for adding up to 12, where we had all of these different ways of so this is segment of length 2. So if I have 3 segments, the lengths can be 2, 2, 4, 3, 2, 3, or 3, 2, 3 in a different permutation. Okay. Obviously, you can never have one where there's a segment of length 1 because you need to add up to 12 or more. So what happens if there's a 9 in the middle of the corner box? Then you have to have, then this is the only thing your loop can do. and you have a 3-5 split. But that seems perfectly legal. If you have a 9 here, well, if you have a 9 here, that's quite the problem, right? Because if you have a 9 there, then your loop has to do this, and now you have a loop segment of length 6, which is quite impossible. So there are no 9s in these positions. Can there be a 9 here? Actually, does the loop have to do this in every corner box? How else are you getting to the corner using only segments of length 5 or less? So I think maybe black is not the right color for the loop. It's red, okay. How is that gonna look when I have digits in the loop? Pink. Yeah, let's just do pink. Yeah, so I think the loop has to do this through every corner. Every corner that doesn't have a 9. Now, if no corners have a 9, then these 4 digits have to all be 9, obviously impossible. What if one corner has a 9? Say this one. Then I'd have 9, 9. That looks legal. So either 1 or 2 corners have 9s. And certainly one of the bottom ones has a 9. Because of this 2 in the middle. Now what does the loop look like in the box even with a 9? The loop still has to pass through this cell. And the loop has to pass through this cell. So it does this. And if the loop does pass through the corner, then the other segment either does this or does this. It can't do like that or something ridiculous. So we have this at least in every corner. Right? If the 9 is in the corner, then yeah, it's just constrained. Okay. That is a start. And then obviously one of these is a 9, one of these is a 9, one of these is a 9, and one of these is a 9. Now the 7, it either connects like this, or it connects like this, depending on where the 9 is. Now we know for a fact that in this corner we have a 3 length segment that contains a 5. So the other two members of this segment must add up to 13 to make the total 18. And I think 6, 7 is the only way. So it has to look like this. Now we know there's a 2 somewhere there. So then the other digits, wherever they are, must be 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, where the 8 doesn't touch the 1, which is not terribly strong constraint. Now I can have a 3 length segment that has a 7 on it. I can have a 5 length segment that has a 7 on it if the other digits are 1, 2, 3, and 5, leaving 4, 6, 8 for here. So that would look like this. 4, 6, 8, 1, 2, 3, 5, or obviously that isn't the 2. So that would be what happens if there's a 9 in the corner. Seems perfectly fine. I wonder if I'm supposed to conclude something about the 6 or the 7s that are x-raying this box. You could have a 7 here and it's on a 3 length segment. We cannot have a 7 here, right? If there's a 7 here, then I have a 3 length segment that adds up to 18. No, it could be 7, 8, 3. But it can't be 7, 6, 5 because of these 6s. Can the 7 be here? Actually, maybe that is the key. If the 7 is any of these, it's on a 5 length segment that contains a 7 and a 6, which is impossible because the 7 and 6 adds up to 13. The other 3 digits have to add up to 5, but the lowest any 3 distinct digits can add up to is 6. So the 7 is not here. And by Sudoku, the 7 is not here or here. Therefore, the 7 is here. And we have, once again, a 3 length segment. And we know these are 8, 3. And then the other digits are 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6, which adds up to 18, in fact. So that's correct. And again, we see the 2 is somewhere there. The 2s are bothering me a bit. So if this is a 5 length segment, that puts a 2 here, which puts a 2 here, which puts a 9 here, and then we'd have 2 9s in the column. So this can't be a 9. And obviously that can't be a 9 because it is a 7. Now this can either be 6, 5 or 8, 3. I suspect 8, 3 is going to be constrained in some way by the presence of an 8, 3 here, but not immediately. This will have a 2. Yeah, maybe a better way to think of it is, yes, this is helpful. I know I can't have a 2 in this 2 by 2 box, because that would be a 3 length segment that adds up to 18 and has a 2, and if you want 3 digits adding to 18, one of which is a 2, then 2 would have to be a 9 and a 7, but there's no 9 in the line. So similarly, there can't be a 2 here. And since by Sudoku there isn't a 2 here, there's a 2 here, which means there's a 2 here, which puts, which is a problem, right? quite, but this is an important deduction. So we know there's a 2 here. That reasoning only applies to these 3 cells, because this cell could be on the 5 length sum. So this is one of these 3 is a 2. Okay, but we're getting our deductions. There's still this, which sees that. Finds us a 9 in the corner. Tells us this isn't a 9. Tells us this is a 9. So we have a 5 length. These 2's see this. And then we have this, and a 9. So by Sudoku, that's a 9. Then one of these is a 9. One of these is a 9, and that's a 9. Feels like an okay start. Took us quite a while to get here. You know, one of these is a 7, which tells us the 2 does not go straight across. So it definitely goes up and down. And if we can figure out which one is the 7, that will constrain things. We know where the 2 is here. We know one of these is a 1. And one of these is a 4. And here we have 1, 4, 5, where this is not a 5. So this, C, is one of these cells, which I think, can the 4 be on a 3 length segment? If the 4 is on a 3 length segment, then the other 2 have to add up to 14. So it could be 4, 6, 8. So the 4 could be here or here. 4 can't be here because of this 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 8. We have everything accounted for in this row. 6 has to be on the left box, 7 in the middle box, 8 in the right box. 5 left or middle. 3 middle or right. 1 and 4 unconstrained. Okay. 2's in this box. One of these is a 2. This isn't a 2. Hmm. 4, 5 here cannot touch each other. Similarly, 1, 8 here. Okay. There are 3 segments in this box. What can we do with that? Excuse me. Their lengths are 3, 2, 3s. We know it's not a 6 that goes with the 1, 2, 3. It's one of the other 2 possibilities. The 2 length segment is either an 8 and a 4 or a 7 with a 5. So if it's the 7 with a 5, 7 is here, 5 is here. If it's 8 with 4, similarly. Well, 8 with 4 could be other way around. The 2 has to go with 2 things that add up to 10. Can't be 8, 2. Could be 7, 3. Or 4, 6. So that would be 6, 4 or 7, 3. 6, 4 would be very constraining because the 4 puts a 4 here, which puts a 1, 5. 4, 6. 4. Yeah, if this is a 4, this is a 4. We have a 4 here, we have a 4 here, we have a 4 here. We have a 4 here, specifically here because of the 6, 8. Did I neglect the possibility this was 2 segments? I think I did, but that is impossible because you need to have 18 and 3 where one of them is a 2, which we established can't be done. If this is not a 5, and this is a 1, 4 pair, this is a 1, 4 pair. Certainly the 1 is here. Since the 4 is here, that makes that a 7, 3 pair. I feel like I am neglecting more useful ways to progress with the puzzle. But this top box does feel like the most promising. Well, we established this can't run across, so at least we have one piece of information. Can this be only 2 segments? That feels very hard. 2 would connect like this. This would be a segment of length 6. That's not happening. Yeah, if this box has only 2 segments, then we have accounted for all 4 entry and exit points. So it doesn't pass through this part, this boundary at all. Which means whichever corner is not the 9 has to have all three parts in one segment. Then to the 9 it has to go down, and it's just impossible. So this box definitely has 3 segments. And because it has 3 segments, it has to have 6 boundary crossings. We see 4 of them, 2 must be here, 1 where there isn't a 9, and the other in the middle. Right? So how does that help us? If let's suppose this is a 9, then this is a boundary crossing. It could be, it can't go down to the 6 because if it goes down to the 6, this would have to add up to 12. That's impossible. So this, if this is the 9, this could go down. This would have to be 8, 4. Okay, yeah. The only way to make this, let me put in some digits rather than saying it out loud. So pick one of these to be the 9. Doesn't matter really which one. Then we know the other boundary crossing is opposite the 9. And I claim it has to connect like this. So if it doesn't connect like this, it connects down. And then this connects down, and this connects down. So whether you have the 9 on this side or on this side, if you try to do that, in either case, the 6 is part of a 2-cell segment that adds up to 12, which is clearly impossible. So wherever the 9 is, this connects horizontally to the other one. So running across the top, we have to have 2 digits that add up to 12. We can see it's not 7, 5, so it must be 8, 4. Probably given enough digits already in this row that there was an easier way to get that conclusion. But never mind that. So this has to be 1. This is at least mildly interesting. Now this can't be a 4. Because if this were a 4, no, sorry, this can't be a 6, but we knew that already. Okay, that's fine then. So we know one of these is a 1, and since this can't have a 1, therefore one of these is a 1. Therefore one of these is a 1, therefore one of these is a 1. Now certainly we can't have the 6 connecting down like this, because now we have 6 plus 6 is 12. So this must connect, this must connect, this has to be 1, 2, 3, and this has to be 7, 5. So this is 4, and we finally have a path forwards, because we now know this is a 1, 4 pair. Means this is not 4, 6, this is 3, 7. And the remaining digits in this row are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. Now I suspect that this cannot be 6, 8. I suspect this has to be 5, 6. If it's 5, 6, that's 11. Then these would have to be 1, 2, and 4. If this is 5, 8, that's 13. These have to add up to 5. You can't have 3 digits adding to 5. So this can't be 5, 8, and certainly not 6, 8. So this can't be 8 and 3. So this is 3. And you can't have 8 touching 1, so this is 4. This is 18, this is 18, looking groovy. This has to be 5, 6, 7, I think. Which confirms that this is 2 segments. One of these is a 1, one of these is a 2. 2 segments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, and the other is 8. This is 2, 3, 4? Yes, that sounds correct to me. Right, this can't be a 7 because it touches a 2. Okay, looking good. 8, 1 cannot touch each other. So this must be 4. And 5, 6, that's all fine. 7 can't touch the 2, of course. 5, 6, 2, and then I think we agreed this had to be a 4, making this 7, 8, 3. Where this is the 7, obviously. 3, 8, 5 and 6s are determined. And then we have a 2, 9 pair, leaving 4? 4. Okay. Looking good. I suspect these cannot be 9. Because if this is 9, this is 9, and then how are you making that loop work? So those are not 9. Looking likely this is going to be a 5-3 split. Let's find out. Again, this is 5, 6, 7, which strongly suggests it's a 5-3 split. 1, 3, 8, 3. If it is not a 5-3 split, what does this look like? This goes to this, goes to this, and then these have to connect, and these, is there another way to make this work if these don't connect? Could be that. But then I need 2 plus 10 to add up to 12, which is impossible. So this in fact is a 5-3 split, so that doesn't leave the box and it has to be that. Okay, so making progress. This must be 1, 4, 5, 6, 8. And I can scarcely believe I know nothing about none of those digits in this row. But I do know this isn't a 5, this isn't a 6, this isn't a 1. Actually, there's a 3 here, there's a 7 up the middle. We should just check the side boxes again for any notable progress. I know this can't be a 1-8 pair. So certainly this is not a 3. That makes that a 3. Is that a 3? Ah. Surprisingly informative. And then this can't go left or right, so it must go up. And this doesn't go across, it must go down. And then this, to navigate around a 9. Okay. I think that was the key to finishing the puzzle. These have to add up to 12. It could be 8, 4. And that's about it. 6. And we have finished those 5, 6 pairs. Okay, that looks good. I guess I had that 3, 8 distinguished quite a while ago. In the column, we have to have 1 and 6. Yeah. This is 4 or 8, and this is, there's 4 or 8 or 5 or 7. Hopefully I got that all correct. No 4. 1 or 6, 2 or 4. Okay. So these have to add up to 18. This is 3 plus 7. This is 10. So we have to have an 8. Can't have the 7 touch with 2. 8. So we should have those all distinguished out. 1, 6. 2, 4. And now is it just this that determines it? 7 can't touch 2? 6. Ah. Well, I think we had a bit of a slow start, but that wrapped together surprisingly cleanly, using all of the constraints from the puzzle all the way to the end. Yeah, nice puzzle.